Welcome to the session. It's really great to be in Seoul. Hopefully you've caught some of what we're going to talk about in the keynotes about Unity Pipeline. We gave a nice little teaser there. We also talked about it a bit in the roadmap session if you haven't caught that. But today we actually want to go one step deeper and just show you what it can actually do, where we're at, and what's coming up. Now before we actually do that, safe harbor statement. This means that we're going to talk about future-looking features, stuff that we've never shown before, stuff that's coming up. A lot of what you're going to see today is in beta starting today. So all of this might change. This is our warning. But we're looking for feedback on all of this, which is why we're here to present it to everyone. So my name's David. I'm a product manager at Unity, leading the pipeline team. And with me, there's Peter.
Hello, I'm Peter. I'm a programmer with Unity. And I will speak in a little while when we heard from David.
And our agenda today is really simple. We're going to do about 5 minutes just introducing Pipeline, why we're actually building this thing. Then we have live demos, real demos on our PCs to show you what it can actually do. I'll be doing what we can do today, and then Peter's going to give you a little glimpse of the future of what we're actually going to be doing. All right, so let's talk about Pipeline. Why are we doing this in the first place? Unity has had a superpower in the past. It allows studios to build games that look like they have big teams behind them. Effectively, democratizing game development has been our thing for many, many years. And we've allowed small teams to build massive games. But as productions grow more complex, as there are more people on your production team, well, interactions become a lot more complex as well. Especially when you talk about people who don't necessarily have access to the Unity editor. We know those people exist, level designers, producers, artists, QA teams, and now, of course, AI agents. It gets really, really complex to coordinate things between all of these teams. The Unity editor is partially at fault here. It started as a great tool, and over time we've built functionality in it. It became more powerful, but at the same time it became a bit less accessible to people who don't necessarily want to learn the whole thing, who just want a portion of the editor. We've also built a bunch of tools. You guys have built a bunch of tools around the editor, and it really centralizes there, but there's never been this protocol or this communication between these tools to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Now, this is what we're building with Unity Pipeline APIs. We are taking the editor functionality, breaking it apart into multiple chunks, and making a formal REST API in front of it so that your tools can communicate throughout the entire pipeline. This means that your agents, other people on the team, contractors, a CLI, and even the editor, as long as they respect these APIs and they use these APIs, they're each going to be able to communicate with the rest of the pipeline. And this is what we're going to show today. Straight up, I'm going to exit my slides, and we're just going to go in demo mode. So I have here my Unity editor. This is a project from Survival Kids, one of the games that we've built. In partnership with Konami, of course. And effectively, I already have my pipeline packages installed in this project. There are 3 that I have installed, one of which is the collaboration package, also known as annotations. This is a very simple one. As long as I have it installed, I can start adding comments in my editor to ping other people. So I'm going to ping, let's say, one of our designers that this crab needs some work. And there you go. This essentially will send a ping to my artist, and they're going to be able to, well, pick that work up and fix the issue. Now, how does Sean here know what crab is broken and what they need to do? Well, I have the deep linking package installed in the editor, so if I want to send him a link directly to this asset, I can just go here, say copy link, and copy a link to the web. Now, if I go to my web dashboard and I paste this link, this will send him directly to the asset in our web dashboard. It has the right repo, it has the right branch, it has the right commits so that he knows exactly where to work and where things are broken. Now, in our web dashboard, I do want to highlight that this is an example of the kind of pipeline tools that you can build using these APIs. Everything you see here can be built using our APIs. This is really a tool that we use as an example. Now we have our 3D viewer. It comes with basic functionality, you know, what you would expect from a 3D viewer. I'll let you guys explore what it can do. But we also have the comments here. They're the same comments that were in the editor, so I can, you know, write stuff here, say, hey, I'm about to work on it. Cool, let's go. And from here on out, effectively, this is a tool that your artists can use to interact with your project. So let's say I'm a 3D artist. Suddenly, I don't necessarily need access to your VCS or your editor to actually start working on this, because I can just go here and download my crab, the one that's in the right branch, and open it in Blender and do my thing. Alternatively, I'm just gonna clean this here. I asked Claude to build me a Blender plugin because I'm kind of lazy and I just want to use stuff in Blender directly. So I have access to my repo here, again, the right branch, the right commit, everything, because I've set it up that way with Claude. And I can just tell Blender to download my crab directly here. And I'm just gonna make a few changes to my crab like this. Let's say I'm going to make it blue, first of all. And I'm going to give it some spikes because we all love spikes and we know that crabs go faster when they have spikes. You can see I'm a very good artist. Again, here we have the same comments that are in the editor, that are in the dashboard in Blender. So I can say, all fixed, this is perfect, and click on update asset on Unity, and this is just going to push it straight to the right branch, right commit, same thing. Alternatively, I can always just export it as an FBX. And if I choose to do that, I can go back to my dashboard, grab my crab, and drag and drop it here. You'll see that we regenerate the preview. This is not only going to regenerate the preview for the FBX, but it also is going to regenerate the preview for the prefab, because we know that there's a dependency there because we have the full Unity project running, which is great. Once that's done, your asset will be available to everyone on the project. All right. So now the artist can see it in the dashboard, but this is really just a simplistic representation. We don't have all the context of my game. So what do we do next? What we want to do effectively is give my artist a scene preview. This is what we call our look dev scene. It's a way for the artist to, well, see what the asset will look like in an actual build. So in this case, it's a WebGL build, same thing. I can load my assets, load my crab, and voila. I can see how it looks like in my scene, leave some comments, again, say, hey, it's fixed, it's validated, and everything. Now, how do I actually build this scene to interact with my pipeline? I'll go back to my editor and close the comment. Here, this is the scene I want to build from the editor. We have a new tool that we're shipping. It's called the Unity CLI, and it is a command line interface that is super powerful. I'm just going to go ahead and go right into my shell here. And if I click and type pipeline, I have my beautiful Unity CLI running. This is available today. Everyone can install it. Now, the interesting part here is the Unity CLI has something called the pipeline package. So I can go Unity pipeline install, and this installs the pipeline package into my editor directly. And to validate that this worked, I can go pipeline list. And this will say, hey, you have an editor running, it's reachable, the server's up, cool, you can start working. Now what happens here is that I have a command called command. This lists everything I can do in the editor using the CLI. There's a lot. You can start creating game objects, listing your hierarchy, you can create UI, VFXs, there are a lot of commands to do a lot of different things. And the advantage here is that AI agents love CLIs. If you ask Claude to start using the CLI and to explore it, it's going to be so fast and it's going to be doing wonderful things for you. The reason it's so fast is because of this one command here. It's called eval. What this does is it allows you to run arbitrary C# code in the editor, but it does not use the editor compiler. It uses a Roslyn compiler so that you don't have to compile your project or use the domain reload that slows down the editor. So this allows agents to iterate so much faster using the CLI. Now the ways this works is if I go in Claude, I'm just going to ask it in a second to build my scene preview. Hey, build a scene preview. Now, the way Claude knows what to do with this, I'm gonna cancel Claude here, just so that it doesn't do something for 5 minutes, is I wrote a skill that's called scene preview that explains how to actually build this. It runs, installs the CLI, builds the packages, builds the scene, sets up a loading mechanism, and everything else that you expect. And the result is two things, the build that I saw on WebGL and a local build so I can test things out on my PC. Now, the last thing I want to show about the CLI is it can actually target both the editor and the runtime, which is super powerful because now, well, agents get to interact with the editor and the runtime. One example of this is I wrote a custom command, because you can do that with the CLI. It is there to load assets. So in this case, I just target the runtime like this. I give it the path to my runtime, and I say load asset, and this is going to load, well, in this case, my sleeping bag in my scene preview, which is great. I get to see how it looks in context with my own shaders, my own materials, and everything. So with this, an artist can go from Blender directly to a runtime, whether it be the web build or a runtime here, without having necessarily to pass through the editor, which is great. The last thing I want to show is something that we teased in the keynotes. It's called a hot reload. Now, in the same way that eval can run things in the editor, it can run things in the runtime. So if I go into one of my scripts here, and I'm just going to change a couple values, the speed at which the object rotates and bounces, and save this, I can go back in my CLI and say, hey, reload this script specifically. So again, I target the runtime, I say reload my file, the C# script, and it's going to compile using the Roslyn compiler, change my runtime, and there you go. Now you can iterate on gameplay, whether it be enemy behaviors, tweaking some values or anything like that. Super useful. Now just a quick kind of update on where we're at with all of this. Unity pipeline is in closed beta, so we're taking signups. We'll have a QR code at the end. The CLI and the pipeline package that I showed is actually available to everyone today. So if you actually just search Unity CLI on Google, you're going to land on our documentation. You can use it today. I really encourage everyone to try it out. It's been getting some pretty good feedback. I love this quote, so I do want to share it. So please have a look, and if you have questions about this, we'll be in the Ask the Expert booth. But before we do that, I'm going to send it over to Peter so that he can show a bit what we're working on and what's coming up in the future. All yours.
Okay, we just saw David show a number of exciting workflows that you can do already today in Unity. And maybe you wondered when you saw some of them, how is it even possible to do that? Because we saw a web dashboard that had previews and the structure of a project, and there was no Unity around. So I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain and show you how this actually functions. And to do this, I have on my laptop a development setup of our new pipeline. And it is running a bleeding edge version of this, so you will also get a little preview into the future, stuff that is not released yet, but that is coming soon. I have one slide more before I go to demos, and I want to show you the high-level architecture of what we are building. And you should think of, I'm going to talk about this thing called the project API. It is backed by a thing we call the project service, and the best way to think about that, if you know Unity, is that it is the import pipeline, the asset database, and the content build system, but expressed as a service, so you can talk to it through a REST API. So, enough slides. Let me show you some actual demos. As I said, I have on this laptop the service running, but of course you can't really see it, so I will show it by talking through it through a command line interface. Now I'm connected. Let's see what is here. Something called Endless Runner. Let's go in and see what we have here. Some of you who have used Unity for a long time can probably guess what game it is. So I'm connected to the service. You can see the endpoint is localhost. I'm in a project called the Endless Runner sample, and I'm in something we call a workbench, which is sort of like a remote checkout, but that works with all version control systems. Okay, let's see what we have here. An assets folder. We can go and maybe find some prefabs. And indeed, we have stuff here. You will notice that we are not seeing any meta files, and that's because we are not looking into a file system. We are looking into the asset database. To prove this, I can show you some meta info about this file. And if you know the asset database API, the scripting API, you will know this is the stuff that the asset database keeps track of, the GUID, the hashes, and all that stuff. We can also, actually, before I continue, I want to bring this up, this little extra window here. I will keep this on the top of the screen because as I operate this version control, this command line, you can see that whenever I do things, there's a little line printed up here, and that's because I'm showing you the log of the actual API, so you get an impression of what the REST API looks like. So one of the things I can do also here is I can ask for a preview. I will ask for a preview of this pickup, and it shows me something that looks like a fishbone. And now we can kind of see how the web dashboard that David showed us actually works. That web page is talking to this API, and it is using it to get the structure of the data of the project, and it's also using it to fetch the previews. So, and now we are entering the stuff that is from the future, because this API I have on my computer here is not only for reading, you can also modify things in the project. Let's try and do this. Pickups. Oops. Okay, so now it says uploading. And now you can see here in the list, there's a new asset. It's the money.fbx, a new model I just uploaded. And if I do the info, you can see it has been assigned a GUID. It has been added to the Unity project. Remember that every time I do these things, you can see the commands up here. There was post and patch and all this stuff. That's how it actually works when I'm typing here. Let's see with a preview what this thing we uploaded actually is. Not surprisingly, it's like a stash of money. Okay, I will leave this command line tool now. I hope you get an impression of what the underlying API looks like. So, what could you use this API for if you were a programmer in a production team? Well, To give you an impression, I'll take you on a little journey. Imagine I'm a tools and pipeline programmer, and in my studio, we work on a game. That is this game, as you have guessed probably. It's an endless runner, and it shows up here. And as such, I play a character as a cat, and there's an endless amount of pickups that I run and pick up in this game. This is the game I built in my studio. And you can probably imagine that in our studio, pickups are the most important things we do. My job as a tools programmer is to make it extremely safe and fast and easy to create and ship and test pickups. And I will show you some examples of what I would do as a programmer if I was given this new API. So, the Blender plugin that David showed, I can show you how it actually works under the hood because I took a version of it and stole it and made some more changes to it. Because as a pipeline programmer, I believe that a production pipeline starts all the way in the DCC tool. So I'm very excited to see that we have here in the DCC tool the ability to interact with the Unity project. I can go and find maybe a model and see if we can find this fishbone we looked at before. Should be here. Oops, there it is. You can see the preview. And you can also see up here, as we speak, that these API requests are being made. Okay, let me also download this and see if I can make very nice artwork just like David was doing. I will maybe pick something like this here and do like a very strange looking fish here. And because this is the live API now that is coming in the future, not only can I make the change here, I can also save it. And right after I've saved it, I can ask for a refresh preview, and now I have this thing in my project, just a few seconds after I made the change. Let's see if it also updated the prefabs. It should have done that. Let's find it. There's a prefab here where I have materials and all that kind of stuff is set up. This one, yeah, you can see the real prefab has been updated with a new mesh also. So this is kind of cool, but also a bit scary. I mean, I can change this thing, and I can see it in these small previews, but how does it look in the game? And I thought about that as a programmer, how can I help my artist there? So I can use the new project API to make a little tool that I call the pickup gym. And that's because it's a place where we exercise our pickups as we made them. You can see my not very beautiful maybe pickup here. It's all lined up in this little tool so we can see how they look when they are sequenced out in a game. And we can also verify that when you pick them up, that animation works and looks nice. It's very simple. You can probably imagine what you would do in your studio, but this is a tool to exercise the pickups as we make them. Honestly, I think my changes here are not artistically satisfying, so I will undo them and I will save again. And I can reload here and see here. So I'm now actually iterating directly in my DCC tool and seeing things in a player, and I can verify that the logic here is still working. They're still able to be picked up. All is good. So now they work and they look maybe okay, but you know, when it comes to games, it's also about the feel. So how does it actually feel to have these in the game? And I thought, well, maybe I can make a development version of my game. And I did that. And I put into that development version of that game code that talks to our project API. Because normally or often, the artist would have to make a full game build and wait for it until they can try it on in their hands. And that is not very nice. I want my artist to be happy. So that's why I made this change to our development version of the game. As I hit run, keep an eye on the log up there. Game is talking to the server, and I can try out this pickup in the game. Okay, really I should not be doing this. If there are any artists here, they already know it is a bad thing to modify models directly in the project. What I should do is I should have a proper DCC file, a Blender file, where my new asset is in. And fortunately, I have one made by a real artist, and this is a new pickup for my game. It's like a coin that was made. And because I have this plugin and it is talking to the API, I can put this into the game as a new thing. And let me verify real quickly. Does it work? Well, it looks kind of nice, this sequence of coins. They can be picked up, promising. And let me try them in the game also. How does that work? And we have a sequence of coins here. They feel pretty nice. I think they're going to be a big success in our game. So you may wonder a thing now. How could I take an FBX file and somehow make it a pickup that worked in the game? Normally you have to assign many mono behaviors, put on colliders and materials before it becomes a proper object in the game. And in my setup, we do this in the editor. I will show it to you here. And here, the tech artist has made some customized import steps. We call them blocks. You can see them in the lower right corner. And that's where our tech artist has set up precisely how a pickup should be configured to be a proper object in the game. And that way, the tech artist and me together as a programmer, we have been able to, see if I can make this thing like this. We've been able to create this pipeline that allows the artist to work safely in the DCC tool and get an object in the game that is configured properly. So I want to show you one last thing that is quite important about the project API. Because an important feature of the project API is it is not tied to a particular target platform, Android or PC or iOS, like the editor is. So we can extend this workflow to also run on a device. And I brought my iPad here. And I know you probably cannot see what is on the screen. Maybe you can see that I'm starting the game. But if you can't do that, then keep an eye on this top window, and you can see what happens there, because as I start the Endless Runner game here, go into this. This one actually asks the project service, please give me an iOS version of the runtime content for the new pickup, and then I have my coins on this device. And sometimes it's very important to be able to try out your new content on the actual device, and in particular if it's on phone or something like that, you can save almost hours sometimes being able to have this closed iteration loop. So this is the end of my demo, and I hope that you get an idea of what is possible with this API. And I feel that I, as a pipeline programmer here, were able to create tools that made the particular workflows that are important in our studio very safe, very fast, very iterative. And I hope that as you see this, you are starting to have ideas about how you would be able to use this in your studio. I cannot wait to see what you will build with this stuff. And with that, I believe we will hand it back to David.
Thank you. I'm back just for a recap, don't worry. So effectively, we've seen a couple things. We've seen, dashboard, CLI, what Peter showed with the project service. Really what we're trying to do again is formalize the way that your studio interacts with your entire pipeline so that you can build custom toolings that are tailored to your needs. We are starting the closed beta right now, so we're being a bit cautious about how broad we go, just so that we get that initial feedback. We're really, really looking for studios to join so that we get to iterate together and show and build more and more capabilities in this thing. Especially in the world of AI agents, we don't necessarily know what tooling that you guys are going to build to interact with your AI agents. If you want to join the beta, we do have the QR code here. I'll leave it up here for a few minutes. And we'll be in the Ask the Expert section for Q&A. So instead of taking 10 minutes here for Q&A, we're just going to go straight there and we can chat. So thanks everyone for joining.